A problem that you may have already encountered with CodePen is the inability to use your own images in your projects, unless of course you have a premium account, a premium CodePen account, and we most likely can't afford to do that at the moment. So I wanted to talk through a few strategies for using images in your CodePen projects. Firstly, of course, we know that we can use the CodePen assets, and we can go to the Photos tab in CodePen, and we can search through for some images, and we can grab an image tag, a small version or a large version, and we can paste that in our HTML, and it'll render in our viewport, which is cool. But if we want to use our own images, say we've got logos or images that clients have supplied us, we're going to need some other strategies. One of those is hotlinking. So to use images in CodePen, the images have to be hosted on a public server somewhere on the internet, so they already have to be published. So you might have a client that has a website already and has some images published, and you can use those images by getting the URL of those images. For example, this is my local bookshop here on Sydney Road, and their logo here, top left-hand corner, is obviously published on the web because I can see it at their address. And if I right-click on that image itself, I can scroll down to copy image address, and so that's all we really need to use an image on the internet. And then if I cross back over to my CodePen, I can add in my image tag and a source attribute, and I can also, and then I can just paste in my URL. I will remember to add an alt tag, an alt attribute, like so. And you can see that image being rendered over there, which is cool. Now, that is not a very good practice in the kind of professional sphere. It's very frowned upon to what they call hotlink images from someone else's website. So make sure you have permission to do that before you hotlink, because downloading images from a server is bandwidth, and bandwidth does cost money. Okay, so a couple of other strategies that I can think of for adding images into your CodePen projects are to use two external services. One of those services is called Postimage, and there's probably other versions of this kind of image around. But what this allows you to do is upload an image to their server, and then they'll give you a link back, and you can use that URL in your project. What do they get out of it? I'm not really sure, but there's this great big ad here, so I'm thinking that it's probably about serving ads to you. That's how they make their money. Anyway, I'm going to choose an image from my desktop. Now, I wouldn't use a service like this unless I was for a real client, unless I was really certain about their background. But just for kind of testing and playing around and experimenting with, I think it'd be fine. If I go to my desktop, I've got a logo for my client that I want to use, and I'm going to open that up, and it's loading it up, and it's given me all these possible kind of links here, and all I want is the URL to that image. I think that's that first one there. It'd be good if they gave you an actual an image tag to work with, but we can write that ourselves. So I'm going to copy that image and go back over to my CodePen, and I'm going to write an image tag, add a source attribute, and then paste that link in there, and then also add an alt tag. Oh, oops, I think I copied the wrong link there. I'm going to go back to Postimage, and I want the one with the file extension, obviously, the direct link. Copy that. Hopefully that's going to work this time around. And yeah, that's serving up the correct image, which is good. So that's one way we can get a quick and dirty way we can get a an image into our projects. Something a little bit more kind of robust and a bit more complicated is by using a DNS service like Cloudinari. Cloudinari is a kind of a media management service, and it allows you to serve lots of different files to your website, but from a different kind of server, a server that maybe has more, is a little bit more robust. So let's look at that. You'll have to get an account for something like Cloudinari. I've logged into my account here. I'm going to go to my media library, and you can see here I've got a few images that I've already loaded into my media library. I'm going to add that new image that was on the desktop. Open that up. You can see that that's loaded into the media library here, and all I need to do is grab that URL. So that's copied. I can go back over to CodePen and add my image source in there. So that's looking at the Cloudinari server. And there you go. So 4 different ways that I can get images into my CodePen projects. Firstly, up the top here, using the assets function in CloudPen to bring in unsplash images. I can also hotlink to other sites on the internet where I know that there are images pre-published. Not a great practice, however. Using a service like Postimage, where we can quickly upload something to a server, maybe not as secure as you'd want. And then finally, using something a little bit more robust like Cloudinari. Ideally, when you publish your website, you want to host your images on your own server, and we'll be moving to that as we start to be developing more locally